So as you're trying to defend Luka Doncic and you're looking at it and he's like, he's been killing me with this exact same play. Wouldn't it be awesome in real time to pick up the 5 times someone has defended him going downhill on a pick and roll screen and actually he had to pass the ball? I want to see exactly what that defender did. You being able to pull up that information in real time to show your 2 guard how you want to defend in this particular instance, really, really powerful.
Welcome back. On the last episode, we were diving deep with Joey about how he's driving amazing innovation with the Pacers Sports and Entertainment Network. We're super excited to continue the conversation on this episode.
All right, so I know this isn't your wheelhouse, but as a sports fan, I got to ask, how is tech and AI on the actual training performance, the game planning, and like any sense of how prevalent that is? It feels like we're seeing more and more headlines of.
I mean, I think we're in the same place the rest of the economy is, which is like, I think lots of ideas and a lot of work that's needing to make practical impact, but it's certainly coming.
Yeah.
And, I was with an AI company this past weekend, and one of the things that we're talking about is it's a company that is helping people in real-time decision-making. So I actually think it has a lot of applications trying to help this company think about that as we consider whether we take a position in the organization. But one of the places who make a lot of real-time decisions is the people who sit there with iPads right behind coaches who have to make the decision about whether you should challenge a play or not. Right. Like that is a real-time decision. Also our coaches. So as you're trying to defend Luka Doncic and you're looking at it and he's like, he's been killing me with this exact same play. Wouldn't it be awesome in real time to pick up the 5 times someone has defended him going downhill on a pick and roll screen and actually he had to pass the ball? I want to see exactly what that defender did. You being able to pull up that information in real time to show your 2 guard how you want to defend in this particular instance, really, really powerful. And so we're thinking about things like that because, I think where AI has a real opportunity to make impact, certainly in lots of industries, but I think in that real-time decision-making, like putting you in a position to have, as all of us at times do, the teams that support us, and you've got those 5 people and you're like, that person always seems to know one extra bit of information. It's like, that's what I think is powerful about the opportunity.
I was going to try to flip it a little bit and talk a little bit about, if you don't mind, talk about Caitlin.
Yeah, sure.
For a second, right? So we've seen legends like LeBron and Steph Curry, give Caitlin her flowers, right? She's there. She's being compared, right, to Steph in so many ways in terms of shooting range and all those types of things. Do you believe that the male audience has bought in to women's sports?
Yeah.
Or you think is this a hype? Is there something that we're going to have to continue to, put more of Caitlin's out there for this to continue?
I mean, if you go to a WNBA game, and this is certainly in Indiana, but around the league, and you watch the number of young boys who are rocking WNBA player jerseys, and certainly Caitlin, but that's not all. I mean, Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston and Lexi Hall and Sophie Cunningham jerseys, like in our environment, but certainly also across the league. That to me is the sign. Like the change has happened. It is not a talk of like, will they continue to invest? Is this growth? Like we're here.
Yeah.
And certainly we feel like, we have had a big part of that. We're not shy about our dream. We are focused on being the epicenter of women's sports. We want the Fever to be certainly America and then the world's team. I mean, we are not shy. We have said it publicly. We would continue to say it publicly. We're investing at that kind of level. We've got, a $90+ million practice facility that will be online 1 year from today that we think will be the best in all of women's sports. In Indiana, we've got places like USA Gymnastics, USA Track and Field. Like these athletes are incredible. It's about time, but ultimately like, the change has happened. And the only way you need to know is go look at an 8-year-old young boy rocking a Paige Beckers jersey. Like the game's over. We're here.
Amazing. I love that. Thank you.
And it's not just anecdotal. I mean, we'll talk about this, I think, in our headlines and research roundup, but our Deloitte sports practice just published some data and the numbers around women's sports are real.
Yeah. There's a lot of sports fans who like the game better. Right? I mean, there are some, we hear it all the time. There's only a 5% overlap. If you think a market like ours, again, traditionally, when I think we're breaking down these large and small markets, there's only a 5% overlap right now between a Pacers and a Fever fan. It's 2 separate fan bases. They show up differently. They behave differently at the game. They buy merch differently. They buy concessions. And we're having to serve them up different types of communications because they're different fan bases. But when they come into the building, their expectation is they're there to watch their game and their fans and their team. And the fans who are in that building are there because they don't feel like they're doing it as some obligation. They're there because they want to see great ball,
Right.
and they like the game better.
I'm so glad you said, because I grew up in the Rick Pitino, Kentucky era, and I think the Fever are more representative of the type of game that I identify with than most NBA games, honestly. And I enjoy watching it myself.
Yeah, I mean, as a basketball fan, like if you can enjoy watching the way that Stephanie White coaches and how she plays the game, and I'm obviously a huge Coach Carlisle fan because we play with pace.
Yeah.
But on the Fever side, I mean, what she did last year with players that we were literally taking some of them off the couch and bringing them and importing them in, and then watching them run this system and taking us all the way to a win up before the WNBA finals, like. It was inspiring. It was incredible basketball, and like the intensity of the game. It's beautiful to watch.
As you think about where the puck is going, to use another sports analogy here, where are we in 5 years? Where do you take the Fieldhouse Media Network, what you've launched, the platform? Because the platforms today are recursive. They learn, they grow. Like, where do you think this is all going, and where do you see the Pacers?
And a lot more trophies in Indiana.
Well, that's trophies, more hardware.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think is interesting, we're building what we would consider, as bold and ambitious a sports mixed-use anchor district is in the country. Right now, there's $100 billion of pipeline development happening, 48 separate of these facilities. It means a massive change, but part of it is no longer thinking of yourselves as a basketball team or a football team or a baseball team, but ultimately thinking of yourself as an entertainment provider. And we've even made some of the major announcements. We've got a Ritz-Carlton coming, a Live Nation music venue. We've signed a couple very big national leases in the last 2 weeks that we're excited to make announcement on. All national entities that are deciding to come in. I think one of the real opportunities of the data and the tech is thinking about how do we revitalize downtown American cities. There's still 20 to 30% distressed commercial real estate across this country. The idea that people are coming back to work and going to fill office towers again, like that's old news. We got to just stop. We got to think very differently. And so the way that we're thinking about our downtown is it's an always on innovative urban playground. So in order to be able to do that, though, think about how do you connect Marriott, an incredible company, and their amazing Bonvoy platform with a Opry Entertainment Group, or with certainly a Cosm or a restaurant chain like Major Food Group, and be able to have some way to connect all of that energy such that a person feels like they're in one experience, especially if it's non-contiguous real estate. That's like a major challenge we're focusing on. And certainly as we think about it, it's part of our legacy, but we believe we solve that problem. We now have fixed downtown, American cities, and then maybe cities around the world, which are struggling to find an identity.
Love that. I love that. Several times you've talked about the ecosystem that you're building around yourself, right? We're part of that ecosystem. We're privileged to be part of that. Yieldmo's part of that. Salesforce, you've mentioned urban downtown area is part of the ecosystem. Tell us more about how you think about your ecosystem strategy as you think about innovating. We'd like to say together makes progress, and that's a nod towards innovation as a team sport.
No, certainly, and I'll give you the good Deloitte buzzword, like the flywheel. I feel like I hear flywheel a lot when I interact with your colleagues. But ultimately, we're pretty focused on things like how do you connect live social shopping. I think that is a massive play.
You're speaking our love language.
We're the Fever, the number one per cap merch team in all of basketball. Forget like women's sports, men's sports, number one, all of basketball. And so our thought is we've got physical real estate assets like a team store. Well, isn't a team store that's normally not open from 9 until noon an incredible content studio for you to be able to go live around the world with the newest product drops you have? And so when we think about a flywheel, to me, it's how do we connect all of those different touch points? We're looking at this and saying the physical and digital worlds need to connect, and we need to be able to deliver all of these different products across what we're calling certainly the Fieldhouse Media Network. And so today, it's Deloitte and Yieldmo are our partners in delivering and building this media network. We think, and we've talked with the Deloitte team, we've got 4 or 5 others that are coming, really building out something that we think can't be matched in the industry.
So as the ambassador of the Midwest, are you guys convinced you're going to come join me?
It might be more than a flyover for me as an East Coaster.
Yeah.
I'm going.
You can come the premiere of the inevitable Hoosiers 2. That will be. Yeah. I'm sure Disney's working on it right now.
Well, we've got a good thing like for our Fever thing is now and at the airport the way that comes across. So it's now, Indiana's not a flyover state. Well, yeah, that is the advertising our incredible marketing team came up with.
Exactly. An iPad and say,
there you go. So let's start wrapping things up. If you had to give one piece of advice to a sports leader today, what would it be?
That I think you need to put people inside the organization who are going to look at the industry different. I think for a long time there's been a thought of like, it's every industry. You grew up in sports, you pay your dues, you want to work, and you want people at the table who've got years of ticketing and partnership or marketing experience. And of course the answer is yes, you do. But again, I think it goes back to that end. I think you need people at that table who are coming from very different industries, which is why our conversations with the Deloitte team are so important. It's because you're in other industries. You're seeing other ways of doing things. And to look at this now, if we're an asset class in the sports world that rivals any asset class, tech included, given the amount of capital that's coming in, then we need the kind of ideas and thoughts that happen in disruption that happens in tech. And so, the advice that I have for people is like, you've got to embrace creative friction. You've got to have people at your table who are disagreeing with you and coming up with big, bold, other ways to drive revenue, because ultimately there's going to be a sort of cap on how much the core revenue streams can grow. And one of those core revenue streams is in massive disruption right now in the media space, including local media, which we haven't talked about.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to, one, overcome some of those challenges, but two, we've got to continue to grow. And so you need people who have got big, bold, new ideas.
I love that. And we've said it before, but people think of innovation as this eureka moment of single acts of brilliance, which there's some of that, which will encourage and find flavors, but it's mostly import and export. Divergent thinking with ideas that come in to help us. Beautifully said.
Yeah. Joey, this has been awesome. We touched on so many themes that are like consistent across this podcast, which is business model innovation, tech innovation, ecosystems, partnerships to drive new growth, and perhaps most importantly, the humanity of it all. And I love that you're using tech to extend the humanity of sports to reach more people. Thanks for coming. The amount of innovation and energy just moving the entire field forward. And it turns out sports is on a rocket ship right now. The global sports market is about $450 billion plus or minus today. That's projected to grow to $850 billion plus by 2030. And I think, as we just heard, that's not going to be driven by ticket sales. What do you guys think about all this innovation and growth that's happening across sports?
I think it's fascinating to think about the full business of sports. Like you say, the thing you associate much, season tickets and individual events and things, that's a small piece of the total pie. And new streams you never would have thought of before, like the broader cityscape investments, like the sports betting is controversial, but it's 100 billion plus of new revenue.
I mean, plus we talked about Marriott and the experiences and the partnerships there, the restaurants, all of the things, all of the merchandising that goes around, the experiences that you create for our children and all those things. Like, there's just a lot going out there that I didn't even think about.
Yeah, I mean, all the way down to revitalization of American cities. I mean, how exciting is that? I think there's also something too in the complicated world that we live in with all the uncertainty. Like, sports brings people together, which is also inspiring and exciting. And it reminds me of the privileged position we've had to work with the Olympics. I mean, talk about using digital engagement to reach a global audience that brings people together.
Desperately needed in these times. It makes you proud that but I do, the thing that Joey mentioned about what a small percentage of NBA fans have actually ever seen a game. And it's a bit about, it is a very geotemporally bounded. There's only so many games and they're played in very specific places. And so even if you're a fan, the chance to be there is hard. But there's a piece of it is ticket prices aren't exactly accessible either.
Yeah. And Joey mentioned a lot of his fans are from out of state. Right. Yeah. And so making the investment to fly, to buy tickets, to do that becomes an investment. And so kind of taking it back to the business side of it, I think what I would love for kind of fans to think about is the more we help to cultivate this business model, the more you can give back to the fan base.
We talk about flywheels a lot in consulting. That would be a virtuous flywheel that I think everybody would get excited about for sure.
And I think that's what really excited me about the conversation with Joey. I was at first thinking, well, are we going too far? Are we making this too much about technology? But at the end of the day, when I was really listening to his vision, I got super excited for the fan, for the 8-year-old boy that is, going on and cheering on the WNBA, right? So what he's doing is a pretty amazing movement.
And
Totally.
over and over again, making that the fan and the fan experience, that's the hero of the story. And it happens to be fueled by AI and an amazing platform. That's the way it's bested, and the ecosystem. But that's not what matters. And that vision, I think, is inspiring, especially as a small town guy.
Oh, well, as a small town guy, I think you had a lot to relate to there. And I love your point, because the innovation that we're seeing in sports, we can carry that abundance mentality to other sectors as we apply AI, digital, et cetera. What an inspiring conversation.
Abundance mentality plus Hoosier hospitality is an amazing formula, right?
Amazing combination.
Yeah, amazing combination.
And it's not a flyover. What was
Flyover state.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
no longer a flyover.
No longer. Makes me.
And all of this is going to light up your life. I mean, that's really what I got away from it. I thought that was a really inspiring segment.
It was incredible.
Next time on Forward Technology, we'll take on another enterprise question that looks simple in the headlines, but a lot messier in the real world. We'll bring in a new guest, unpack what is actually changing, and focus on the decisions leaders have to make right now. Follow the show so you don't miss it.
Well, that's it for this episode of Forward Technology. And remember, don't just bet on the future, build it. Until next time.
This podcast is produced by Deloitte. The views and opinions expressed by podcast speakers and guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinions of Deloitte. This podcast provides general information only and is not intended to constitute advice or services of any kind. For additional information about Deloitte, go to deloitte.com/about. This publication contains general information only, and Deloitte is not, by means of this publication, rendering accounting, business, financial, investment, legal, tax, or other professional advice or services. This publication is not a substitute for such professional advice or services, nor should it be used as a basis for any decision or action that may affect your business. Before making any decisions or actions that may affect your business, you should consult a qualified professional advisor. Deloitte should not be responsible for any loss sustained by any person who relies on this publication.